Welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. I'm the mom and I do the movie reviews. And today the film I'm reviewing is called Renfield. This comedy horror about Dracula is now playing in select theaters. The movie is rated R, and a hard R it is, and is 1 hour and 33 minutes. My movie review mom grade is hovering between a B and a B minus. And let me explain why. First, I'll give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things that I liked, as well as things that I didn't like. And then I'll offer tips for parents. Don't let your kids watch this, parents. That's my big tip. No, there's more. But I'll also talk about themes that are worth talking about after you see the movie with friends, and even funny lines or interesting lines. And I'll give you recommendations for a few other films that I instantly thought of while I was watching this that you might also like. All right, you ready? Let's dive in a nutshell. Renfield is just a regular guy, except that he worked as Dracula's assistant for many years. Now he finally wants to get rid of that toxic relationship and move on with his life. This dark and violent comedy was directed by Chris McKay and written by Ryan Ridley and Robert Kirkman. So there were some things that I liked about this movie. First of all, I attended a press screener at a theater recently for a different movie where the trailer for Renfield showed. The audience was fairly quiet at the beginning of the trailer, but as soon as Nicolas Cage appeared on the big screen, the entire audience burst out in delighted laughter, including me. Without his over-the-top, ridiculous performance, this movie wouldn't nearly be as entertaining as it is. He said that playing Dracula was a lifelong dream of his. Now, he did play a vampire before in one of his earlier movies back in the 1980s called Vampire's Kiss. So I guess you could say this kind of role is in his blood. Okay, bad joke. The entertaining cast also includes Nicholas Hoult, who does a fantastic job, Awkwafina, Ben Schwartz, Adrian Martinez, Brandon Scott Jones, Miles Deloitte, and Shorey Adalashlu. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. Probably not, though. They all do an outstanding job. I wonder if it got confusing on filming days to have two leading men named Nicholas, Cage and Hoult, right? If nothing else, this movie is a new take on the old story of Dracula. Director Chris McKay explained that he wanted this movie to be a sequel to Todd Browning's Dracula in the 1931 movie. The marketing was supposed to reflect that connection, but it didn't actually work. The castle seen in the movie is the same one used in the family movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Did you ever see that? I loved that movie. It's called, let's see if I can pronounce this, Neuschwanstein. It's located in Bavaria, Germany. And guess what? Nicolas Cage actually owns a few castles in real life. Isn't that amazing? This movie is sort of a pulp version of vampires with a lot of dark humor and comedic shtick. It's also extremely campy, so be prepared. Shout out to Wiccan Tumblr. That just made me laugh out loud. The themes and the life lessons are simple and powerful, I thought. Now, with that praise, there were a few things that I didn't like or just thought could have been done better. For example, the movie is extremely violent and gory and not my cup of tea. There are quite a few dark scenes at night that will make viewing difficult when watched on a small streaming device. But considering it's a vampire movie and vampires, are active at nighttime, I was surprised how few dark scenes there were. So that's a good thing. The ending of the movie is vague enough that it leaves a crack open for a sequel. So do you think that's a good thing or a bad idea? Comment down below if you've seen this movie. I want to hear what you thought about it. Now, let me give you some tips for parents. Kids might be interested because it's Nicolas Cage, but this movie is not appropriate for children. There is lots of over-the-top, brutal, bloody, and gory violence. There's profanity, including a lot of F-bombs, disgusting images, body parts, lots of destruction, vampire lore, lots of blood and gore. Did I mention that? Lots. Some of the themes that are illustrated very well in the movie are codependency, toxic relationships, standing up to bullies, the power of therapy, power, hope, good versus evil, narcissists, being capable of change, loving yourself, and taking full charge of your life. And those are all really, really good lessons and themes. So I always like to write down funny lines and interesting lines in movies so that I can give you kind of a taste, pun intended, of the film, but also the quality of the dialogue. So Nicholas Hoult, as I said, plays Renfield, and he says, do you think it's too late to grab one of those nuns, when all of this evil is happening? And I just thought that was kind of funny. Brandon Scott Jones plays a character whose name is Mark, and he says, okay, maybe we're dealing with a little bit more than narcissism here when Dracula comes in and starts floating, and this isn't a group therapy session. And anyway, that I thought was a really funny line. And by the way, I just fell in love with Mark, or Brandon Scott Jones, the actor who plays him, in a fun, cute TV series called Ghosts. So check that out. It's not bloody and gory. It's a comedy and fairly clean and fairly family friendly. I say fairly family friendly because there was a lot of sexual innuendo and some crude conversations. All right, so let me tell you, here's another line spoken by Nicolas Cage, who plays Dracula, and he says, I never drink wine. And this is a line that was also used in the 1992 movie directed by Francis Ford Coppola, his Dracula film. So I thought that was cute that they included that. And then there are some interesting lines. Awkwafina is in it, and she does a really great job. She says, it's never too late to be a hero. And I don't know if I mentioned that being a hero is sort of an ongoing theme as well. Nicolas Cage is, this monster, Dracula, but he says to Renfield, you're the monster, Renfield, not me. And that causes Renfield to question himself. He's pretty sure that Dracula is the monster, but the movie has a lot to do with self-doubt and lack of confidence. And so I thought that was a really interesting line. And several times in the movie, he repeats therapeutic lines like, I deserve happiness, I am enough, and things like that. And there's a big part of the movie has to do with therapy and, finding himself. And I really liked that. All right, and then not to be a big spoiler and tell you all of the lines, I'll finish with this one. Also spoken by Brandon Scott Jones, the therapist, or at least he leads the therapy group. And so he says to Renfield, always remember, you're the one with the real power. And so for people who like bloody, gory, violent movies and comedies and Nicolas Cage and could use some therapy and some good wisdom in their life, you might actually enjoy this movie. All right, so let me give you some recommendations for a couple of other movies that I instantly thought of. Of course, I thought of the 1988 vampire movie with Nicolas Cage in it called Vampire's Kiss. That was his first vampire experience, and yet apparently he still wanted to play Dracula. So now he's living the dream. Another one is called Kiss of Death, which is another Nicolas Cage movie where he's both scary and funny at the same time. And then just for crazy violence is Willy's Wonderland. Also stars Nicolas Cage and is super campy. None of these are child friendly. This one is very violent and brutal and gory and just crazy over the top Nicolas Cage. And it's interesting to see his career because back in the 80s, everybody thought Nick Cage was great. And then as my kids were growing up, his generation, the youngest of the millennials, and then now in Gen Z, they just always made fun of Nicolas Cage. Well, now he's got this resurgence and he's got this fan following where people love to watch him go crazy nuts. And he definitely does in this movie. All right, thank you for spending a few minutes with me. I hope that if you watch this movie, you're prepared and that you enjoy it. Thank you for all of your support. When you get a minute, go join me over on Instagram, both as Movie Review Mom, and you can see me listed under my author name, which is my real name, Trina Boice. Have a fantastic day. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.